Cannot wait. Mask on, mask off, does it matter?
Once you take a seat, feel free.
Jack off. Let me start with it on. It's still really cold outside. The mask is coming off.
You're going to probably want to move that microphone a little
bit closer to me.
Yep.
Okay. Headphones on?
Yeah. This is the fun part. You get to listen to yourself.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Justin, what's going on, man?
Man, not much. You know, a lot of the everyday grind. Everyone's going through the same thing, so it's just kind of truck through it and try to get through all this. What's going on? So.
Sorry that Mitch made you sit outside the pub in your car in the freezing cold.
That's okay.
We can't risk having something interesting be said before we start this.
I know. I was actually getting dinner at Hunter's on J, and I'm talking to my buddy Andy, and he walks in. I go, oh, man. He walks right over. I go, don't say a word.
I know. I even asked. I said, so what are we talking about? And it was closed doors. I was not allowed to know, and it's all going to be a surprise to me, and I couldn't be not more excited. So
we don't even know what we're going to talk about.
Hey, so exactly. I guess we're all on the same page.
That's what makes the podcast interesting.
Yeah, and I'm excited for it. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Just give me one
Appreciate you joining us.
By the way, I'm Merk. I've seen you around here a million times, but we've never been formally introduced. So pleasure to meet you, dude.
Pleasure to meet you as well. I know Mitchell and Justin, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it is very nice to meet
Justin,
you
just a heads up for the sake of this, we'll call me JP and you Justin.
Okay.
Just so we can
two Justins.
Differentiate it.
Like I said, you're going to want to move. Want me to come help you?
Yeah, can you guys not hear me all too well?
You can hear the difference too, right?
Yeah. So if I back away, yep, I hear that.
Yeah. I'll be a second.
All right. Yeah, I'm not. I don't do podcasts often, so.
Merk, you don't.
Oh.
You don't actually know Justin. You haven't actually formally met him.
There we go.
I've seen him out and about, but I just never.
No.
Never really.
That's what I love about you, Mark. As soon as I said you want to get Justin on from Capoccia Lounge, you're like, "Yep."
I'll talk to anybody, man.
Yep. There was no hesitation. You replied before Mitch did. Mitch knows him.
Well, I guess that's good because we have something in common.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's get it started. Off. And I'm saying it right. Capoccia.
Capoccia, correct.
Capoccia.
Yep.
All right, so I guess we'll start off today.
It's a nice Irish name.
Yeah.
We'll start off today with Justin Capoccia. He is a wine expert. He and his family opened up a winery in 2012. They had a wine lounge that they opened in downtown Schenectady. He started KickFly's Quality Hemp.
Yep.
Last year. Mm-hmm. In the cryptocurrency world, and he's kind of the jack of all trades between construction, playing music, and all the above. So, Justin, thanks for joining us today.
I am very happy to be here. So, ask away.
Welcome, dude. So we like to start out each podcast with a very simple question. If money didn't exist, didn't matter, what would you be doing right now?
Oh, jeez. I will be honest. I still would be making wine. That's not a big money maker. I mean, trust me, it is. But the way that I want to say it, I guess, or frame it, is it's been a passion of mine for a very long time. I remember being, I used to live next to my grandparents, and when I was a little kid, I'd walk over there, and I always wanted Sprite. But I always needed to try the family wine first at 5 years old. Yeah. I wasn't able to leave until I tried it, and I always loved it, and it's always been in the family. And when my grandparents came over from Italy, they brought over their wine press, and that was what was important to them. So I wanted to carry that on. So honestly, if I really had to say what I'd be doing if money was not an issue, I'd probably still be making wine. Obviously, I would love to be a musician. That'd be fantastic. I'm definitely nowhere good enough to be a musician, but those are the things that I would love to do. And I think that I fit very well into what I'm doing currently because, they do say that if you love what you do every day, it's not a job. And for me, it hasn't been a job. I work countless hours a week. I've done so much in that realm, and I love it so much that regardless of the money, and it's been tough, especially during COVID, but, I'm doing what I actually enjoy, and I can't imagine doing anything else, to be honest. So.
Do you still have that wine press or grape press?
Absolutely. All the wine is made through that. Yep.
Really?
100%.
Really?
Wow.
How old
Yep.
is it? It's
Oh, it's old. it's definitely older than me. I can tell you that.
yeah.
You know, they brought it over on the. I mean, obviously, I was not alive when my grandparents came over, so it's pretty old. We still use it. It's the way that I prefer making wine from.
Okay.
I think it just gives it a different kind of feel, especially with making it. We had opportunities to upgrade where we thought maybe it would speed up our process, but at the core root of it, if you love something so much, and that's the way you know how to do it, and that's what makes you have fun, that's the way we do it.
Yeah.
So no bare feet stomping the grapes.
No bare feet stomping the grapes, although that does make it pair well with cheese because, you know, the toe cheese that's inside your mouth. Yeah. So, unfortunately, my wine maybe doesn't pair as well with cheeses and others, but that's the reason why.
Nice.
So
Now, most vineyards are not in upstate New York. How many total vineyards are in upstate New York along with yours?
So now in upstate New York, if you look at it as, you know, the capital region, there is not many grapes being grown here. So we all always have to go out to the Finger Lakes or we'll go down to Long Island, Lake Erie region, the Buffalo area. But there's actually a misconception with grape growing in the state of New York. New York is actually number 1 in grape growing. California is actually number 2 in grape production, but California beats us in wine production because they're growing a lot of wine grapes, as where we're growing a lot of juice grapes for, let's say, Welch's.
Oh, okay.
So we're actually probably one of the biggest suppliers of Welch's
Really?
here in the state of New York. Yeah. And actually, most people don't know this as well, but New York State actually has over 70 varieties of grapes, and we have a lot to thank with Cornell with their breeding program. And we were lucky enough one year that we knew the president of the Grape Growers Association out there, and they gave us the opportunity to try out a brand new grape called New Array, which we do sell currently. And we are so happy that we were small enough of a vineyard that they grew such a small portion of it. They let us try it out, and it ended up being a killer wine for us. And now the whole industry has taken on to it. So it's a pretty cool wine culture in New York State.
How long before? So when you plant or start the wine or the vine of the grape to you can actually harvest the grapes for making the wine.
So when you first plant grapes, typically, so you never grow them from the seed. It's you root them, you force root them
From cuttings?
From cuttings,
Okay.
exactly. So from that point even though that it has already a year of growth, it takes about another 3 years to see grapes, and then it takes about 4 to 5 years to actually get something you could actually use,
Oh, wow.
if that makes sense. So it's still a long time. If you grow from seed, and that's what they do when they crossbreed, that's why crossbreeding takes so long. It takes on average, 10 to 15 years to actually get a new variety to come out because it takes so long from seed to actual growth of the grapes that come out of the plant. And they're crossbreeding with cross-pollinating and stuff like that. So, yeah, it takes a while. People don't realize when you put a vineyard in, you may not see returns for another 3 to 4 years. So you need to
that's
really
wild.
plan ahead in the wine industry. Absolutely.
That's crazy. So do you guys do much with, or do you have any disease or insect problems with those, or how do you manage that?
We've had a few, but we don't spray. We're very cautious about spraying or using any kind of pesticide.
Yeah.
We don't even really fertilize all too much.
Right.
Grapes are very independent when they grow. They depend on how much water they intake and the sunlight they're receiving. So you really don't want to put too much water to the grapevines, especially towards the end of the season, because when it's wet and it rains, the grapes want to produce more acid, and that's very detrimental to wine. I mean, you don't want a lot of acid in your wine. So what you want is the sugar content, and that's what creates the alcohol. So you want the sugar to be anywhere between 20 to 24 bricks to get you to the 12.5 to 13% alcohol.
Gotcha. Do you irrigate your vineyard at all, or is that just natural?
We don't. We naturally grow everything, and we trellis the correct and the more proper way, I guess, to trellis. It depends whether if it's a hybrid, a vinifera, or a native variety such as Concord, which everyone I think knows what a Concord grape is.
That's just the normal.
Yeah,
normal
that's
grade.
Yeah, well, you buy Welch's grape juice and it says Concord on things, so I feel like everyone just knows what Concord grapes are.
I had no idea.
Well, But
Now, Justin, is your vineyard like one that people can visit during the warmer months, or?
No, see, we've struggled so hard, and it came down to the local municipality, and it was very unfortunate for us that we were in a tight spot with our location where we were at in Niskuna. We weren't really, the community loved us. The community wanted us to open immediately, and they couldn't wait. And we were open for about 3 months, and it went off very well, and we were so happy with it. And then all of a sudden, apparently, they didn't understand what a tasting room was, and we had to shut down. So it's very unfortunate. I understand government regulation, and we always try to abide by government regulation. We're not those people that are like, against the government. That's not us. We want to play by the fair rules. We want to do the right thing, and it works out beneficial for not only our company, but also our customers, as well as the government involved.
Now, those reasons, is that what caused you to, or motivated you to open up the tasting room in Schenectady?
100%. We actually reached out to Schenectady Metroplex, which is a very good tool for downtown.
Yeah.
I don't agree, maybe sometimes, the people that they choose, but we were a recipient, so I can't ever knock that. And like I said, they are phenomenal for downtown. They've created so many projects. And you can't knock anything that they've done. And I'm so grateful for being a part of that program. And I've learned so much, presenting to them and seeing what a community needs and what a community wants to give that dream to the community. So
nice. Now, you had the tap room open, or tasting room. I know you had some good craft beer there. I used to visit you when you were open. You had that open for how long?
It was we had a 3-year lease there, and I want to say everything went very well, and we had a good reaction with the community itself. Unfortunately, there was a little tiff, I guess you could say, between us and the landlord. We couldn't really agree on certain things with noise levels and stuff like that, which is totally understandable.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough.
We have people that live upstairs. Mitch, I know that I'm sure they probably soundproof this room, but people live upstairs here. So if they did not do that, then they'd probably be a little angry because it's a bar and people are trying to sleep upstairs. So I totally get it. So we were trying to make things work with both of us, and it wasn't getting there.
Yeah.
So when our lease was up, we decided to exit out. We want to find another location. We're trying to relocate the winery currently.
Okay, yeah.
So that's another
even the winery.
Yep,
the land and everything.
Yep, everything.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're in a big transition mode for our company, and I feel like we left abruptly, and I never had the closure that maybe the community wanted.
Yeah.
But it was not a reason of us struggling, I guess, to keep things going. There was family issues involved. There was issues with the location we were at. So now we're trying to really look at things and make sure we all, dot our I's and cross our T's to make sure that we don't run into this issue ever again.
Yeah.
But the experience that I learned across the board, like along the way, has been phenomenal. And the people that I've met have been life-changing, honestly.
How many acres is your vineyard taking up?
Our vineyard right now is taking up only 3 acres, and as you know, that's not enough. It takes a lot of grapes to get the juice out.
Yeah. What kind of volume do you get out of 3 acres of?
It's not much, and we typically go out to the Finger Lakes every year, and we harvest our grapes ourselves. We truck it all back.
Really?
Yep. So a lot of our grapes do come from the Finger Lakes. So that's just the way of nature, I guess, for wineries and even breweries in this area. I mean, we have to go out to farmland to get the resources that we need to make our product.
And is that cost effective?
No.
Come on, Mitch.
I'm going to say no, but, in the same respect, it also takes a lot of time, money, and energy to make your own vineyard and to maintain that vineyard.
Yeah, so that's why, maybe it's easier than all the water and all the time you're spending out there to hop in a truck and, source.
Right. And, you have the price of the wine, and maybe sometimes people will say, hey, you're too expensive, or it's just, I can go to the liquor store and buy a $5 bottle. There's different parameters here in New York. There's different guidelines. There's different taxes that we pay here. So for us local guys, it's hard to get those margins correct. And so we don't ever, if our wine comes out phenomenally well, we don't price gouge just because it's well.
Yeah.
I personally I don't put a product out unless it's up to my standards. So
When now that's structured, how do you guys get taxed? I'm just curious on how. I mean, I know with breweries and everything, obviously liquor licenses.
Oh yeah.
How does that work in the wine industry? I mean, do you guys obviously pay a manufacturing license? How do they? Where does all that money go?
Where does it go? That is a great question. That's something we should probably ask Cuomo, but I won't go there. Actually, Cuomo's actually done very well for the wine industry in the very beginning. I have quarrels with him with other industries that I'm in, but with the wine industry, he did very well.
Yeah.
And
in the craft world too.
Exactly. So and I should have brought it in out a little bit, the craft world. So craft breweries and these big on farms. Mm-hmm. So to get a farm license is very cheap. It's very easy to obtain. The only issue is you need to use New York State fruit, but that's okay with me because I'd rather support my neighbors than buy, let's say, from California, because there's no reason. We grow so many grapes in this state. Why would I buy from California?
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so as far as the taxes go, we pay an excise tax, so the liquor that's consumed, we pay the regular sales tax, we pay our income tax.
Yep.
There's always the sin tax in there. At the end of the day, there's empty 40 tax, which is essentially, it's a double accounting standard, but they want their cut. Why, I don't know, because you're essentially just telling them how much wine you went through, and they're taxing you, and it's minuscule. It's really, maybe like 2 cents a gallon or something.
Okay.
And it's like, why are we even being taxed on it? I feel like it takes more time to actually go through the paperwork and pay someone to look at the paperwork than what it's worth.
Yep.
But it's something that we pay. So there's multiple taxes, and that's going to be in any industry that, like I say, is a sin tax.
Okay.
Yeah. How has COVID impacted the business in terms of? I know when you closed down the tap room in Schenectady, you transitioned to like a delivery model. It was like same day delivery. You were advertising for your sangria, your wines, everything else. Has it been an uptick with more people staying at home and doing things in their backyards and at home, or what's your business been like?
I gotta say, blessing in disguise. Honestly,
That's what I had a feeling.
We did not want to close. We really did not.
Yeah.
And we were having such a great time down there. And like I said, I met so many people. I wanted to keep that train going. I had such a phenomenal time down there. And what a beautiful building it was, truthfully. And looking back, I'm so happy that we ended up moving on and moved out, because I can only imagine for you, Mitch, especially, like, it's got to be tough. Like, I can't imagine. I've got so many friends in the bar industry, and I hear the same story over and over, and it's like the relief is just not there.
Not yet.
And I feel terrible. I really do, because how am I supposed to sell something to someone when I know they're struggling?
Yeah.
So I even feel bad taking money for the product that I'm giving. It's like I almost want to give it away. It's like I almost want to give it away because I don't have that overhead that you guys have. And COVID has been pretty decent. I like our delivery model right now. It is instant delivery, so we offer it through our website. So we're kind of like Grubhub, but for wine. And sorry, it's only for our wine. I don't go to liquor stores and pick it up for you. But
What's the website?
It is capocciawines.com.
Okay.
And that is our main website. And you go right to the purchase thing. You can go and say, free local delivery, and we deliver locally for free. And we typically offer discounts from time to time. Right now we're doing 10% off if you put in code CWINE10.
Okay.
So it's been working out phenomenal, and people have been very receptive to the fact of the delivery, for sure.
What kind of varieties do you have available?
Yeah.
So, like I said, we really love local, and we want to support Cornell and what they've done in crossbreeding. So we do a lot of hybrid varieties. So if you ask us, what's your best Cabernet, we typically don't have one from time to time. We've made Cabernets in the past, but we're in the hybrid grape varieties because there's so many different flavors that it gives off that the rest of the world has no idea what they're like. So we want to really highlight those and what New York has to offer.
So this is a co-op with Cornell?
No. We have no affiliation with Cornell, but we are using their grape varieties that they produced.
So they came up with a grape seed or what have you.
Yeah, so they crossbreed it, and they mate a male and a female of two different varieties.
Okay.
And now they created a whole new strain.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting.
Now,
it's cool stuff.
Explain to me as a novice of wine. My sister is big into wine down like Austin, Texas, and she always talks about natural wine versus traditional wine.
Okay.
What's the difference between that, like natural wine, this big craze right now? It's kind of like the hazy IPAs that have been the big boom right now in the beer industry. Like, what's the natural wine craze?
Natural
good
wine craze. That is a very good question. If I had to think what they're thinking when they think natural wine, I would have to assume organic, no sulfites. Typically, now I'm not going to lie to anyone here. We sulfite our wine, and we do very minimal sulfites.
What's that?
So sulfites are what preserve the wine. So it'll sit on the shelf, but the alcohol percentage isn't there like a liquor that'll make it stay forever and it won't ever go bad.
Okay.
So in wine, you have to add sulfites to it to preserve the flavor profile and preserve, so make sure no bacteria grows in it, and it's still the wine that you expect to have when you open up the bottle. Because when you put a wine into a liquor store, and it may sit on the shelf for... That's a great sound, honestly. That even threw me off. I'm like, I got another one coming? Or no, but I still got to go on mine. But, so if it's got to sit on the liquor store shelf, you need to make sure that when the customer gets it to their house, that it's not going to be completely terrible.
Yeah.
Because then they'll never buy you again. So when I'm competing against other people, it's hard to not sulfite your wine. So to go back to your question, natural wine, I'm assuming they're saying it's sulfite-free, organic, and all that. We are organic, absolutely. We don't spray anything, like I said. But it's the fact of not using sulfites. But we're pretty much against that because people want to say that it gives you the headache and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm allergic to sulfites.
Well, they use it in beer too,
rare.
don't they?
They do, yep. In certain cases. Beer has a higher turnover rate. So they typically don't have to.
Okay.
Because it's being turned over so fast. Where wine, it's going to get put in a bottle, it'll sit on the shelf. It might take a year or two before you want to dive into it. And most liquor stores are going to keep it at the right temperature. Sometimes you walk in a liquor store and it's the middle of summer. It could be hot as hell in there.
Yep.
And
Does that affect the wine?
Yeah, if it's not properly sulfited, so that's why we put the sulfites in to combat that and make sure that it stays with the longevity of the shelf life. So
When wine is being aged, when you taste it, do you have an idea of all right, this should sit for 2 more years before it's gonna taste at its prime? Is there any way to judge that, or is that just?
I do gotta say that's probably a lot personal opinion.
Okay.
There is guidelines and there are certain time lengths that people like to age certain wines, especially if it's oaked a certain way. But at the end of the day, if you're not tasting it constantly, you may miss the boat because not every wine is the same. Year to year, it may change. Vintages are always going to be different. And, I've had people tell me, I only like wine from a certain year. And I asked them, well, what from what region? And they can't even tell me the region. It means that they had one good wine from a certain year, and they can't tell me the region because our region, a region like here in New York, we may have a great year, but France may have a terrible year.
Okay, really?
We're on the opposite side of the world, almost. So, they're going to be different from year to year. So you have to constantly taste it to answer your question. Yeah.
What do you think the factors are that make a year different from another one? Is it the weather? Is it
Definitely weather.
Weather?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Weather plays a very big role.
So that's as the grape is developing, like you were saying earlier, with the amount of sugar and maybe when it's harvested and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Justin, have you ever watched the Netflix special, The Making of a Sommelier?
I have people tell me to watch that, and I have not watched that. I know. It's almost sacrilege. It's terrible that I have not watched that.
So it reminded me because of his question about the regions, because they go on there and they'll do that little swish and spit thing into a tin and whatever it is. And then they'll be able to tell the year, the county within the region, and the type of flavor profile, like the grape harvest it came from. How is that possible? I don't get how someone's tongue can be that spot on.
Honestly, some people are just that good. That's not me, though, unfortunately.
That is fascinating to me.
It honestly is fascinating, and they do a lot of training. It's training that I don't do. I'm more focusing on my brand, so I'm worrying about the wine that I'm making. Right. But these sommeliers, they go through extensive training, and they do cross-reference tasting. So, they know that it came from that area because they've already tasted certain minerals that came from the soil from that area. So it gets pretty in-depth. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very intricate world when you start talking wine.
What's it take to become?
My only ask is, after this podcast, please go home and watch that Netflix special.
I think I have to now. And now I have to.
Please.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's it take to become a sommelier of that?
Lots of classes.
Yeah.
There's, I think it's stage 1 through 5, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, JP.
Yep.
Did the show tell you? I mean, I might learn something too when I look at that show.
It stressed me out watching the show, what these people were going through. They were all stressed out too.
Listen, if you're stressed out, I'm going to be extremely stressed out if I'm watching that show.
Oh, I can't even imagine. That's why I was hoping you watch that.
It's like Dwight from The Office, and he's explaining how good the paper is, and it starts with the soil.
Yeah. Hey, it's the same in grapes. It's the same thing. Same thing.
Now, one day when we were sitting in your tasting room, we got to talking about Bitcoin.
Yes.
And you talked about making your own coin in cryptocurrency.
Yes.
And I brought my friend Chris in, my neighbor, who is one of the early adopters of Bitcoin. Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And you guys got to talking about it. So you said you were going to make your own coin. Did you ever pursue that?
You know, I did pursue that. And I've been in it for a very long time. Cryptocurrency is kind of like, I would want to say maybe my biggest hobby. I remember in high school, I created a website called JBids, and I was in the e-commerce class, and my teacher would say, "Hey, what are you doing over there? It's not the school website." And a friend of mine would vouch for me and say, "I think it's a little bit more important." And it was all fun and games then, but I held on to this thing called Bcash, and I guess from reading in the history of Bitcoin is they were going on these no-name like classified ads websites, which is what that was. It was kind of a hybrid between classified ads and eBay, which is now the current Bzid. And that website did get hacked, so I'm assuming Bzid hacked me because I never seen anyone pop up with a website just like mine other than Bzid. But it's all hearsay. And I was holding on to these things, and I had them on pennies on the dollar. I think for $5, I bought 350 of them. And it went up to $3 a piece, and I go, hey, I'm in high school, sell. It's time to sell, right? I need new lacrosse gear. I mean, who knows what the situation was at the time.
Yeah.
So I sell it out, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I made it, right? Cool. And then years later, I think it was 2011, 2012-ish, my younger brother comes up to me, Michael, and he's like, hey, have you ever heard of this Bitcoin thing? And he showed it to me, and I go, you've got to be kidding me. And I saw it was at $90. And,
what?
And I almost wanted to cry. I was like, you're kidding me, right? I had this stuff, pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
You do the math right now. Guess what 350 Bitcoin are? The price is $23,000 a Bitcoin. So,
mackerel.
the stuff that'll keep you up at night, So, but ever since then, I've always been totally into it. I love to mine it. I think it's such a cool concept. I think it's the future of money, honestly.
But is it worth mining it?
Not anymore.
With electricity and everything. I know what I wish I did was when I was at Plattsburgh was using the dorm room power to do it.
Yeah, and back then it was actually feasible. You could mine it back then, and I was mining it back then, and I would even rent out my miners to people on eBay for 24 hours. Yeah, and they would pay me cash for me to mine for them for 24 hours. You type in their parameters. My younger brother did most of that.
Really?
I knew how to do it, but he was a lot quicker and better at it than I was.
And it was lucrative.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And Mitch, speaking of Plattsburgh, their power grid, they do like a co-op power where they buy a certain amount and then everyone pays basically the same amount in the city.
Yeah.
They were the first city in the entire country to ban crypto mining because
the power was so cheap.
How low their energy cost was exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, they got a lot of
they were going there.
power from Canada, right? They get a lot of wind, turbine power from Canada, I believe.
Well, within like Clinton, Essex, Franklin County, they have a lot of wind power up there, like turbine power in New York.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Mitch, it's actually funny you say that because a lot of companies here in the U.S. that are firms that are mining cryptocurrency, they're actually, some states require you to have renewable energy as your source of power. So
really, you can't even use the grid.
Correct. Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Because it's gotten ridiculous.
Yeah.
There are companies out there like Bitmain that have so much electricity usage, and it's very detrimental, honestly, to the environment.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I'm very environment conscious. So the cryptocurrency that we tried to make, it was GEM, Global Exchange Medium. I was actually on ABC 10. I was in the Times Union for it. I ended up stopping the project because I was very scared about regulation. And luckily for me, I got out at the right time because now you look at a very reputable cryptocurrency, actually the third largest by market cap in the world, Ripple, XRP. Today, they actually just got a lawsuit from the SEC for $1.8 billion.
What? Why is that?
Wow. Because they were Ripple was a tech company, and they created XRP, which is the separate entity of the cryptocurrency, but they were selling it off.
Okay.
So you're not allowed to have the entire volume of a cryptocurrency and
Right.
sell it off, because then essentially it's an offering.
Yeah.
So the SEC views that as, you're selling stock at that point.
Yeah, essentially.
As where I was giving it away for free, I implemented
Let the demand do its job.
let the demand do its job, and it was secure, it was fast, but I didn't want to carry on. It was too.
But how do
touchy.
you start a cryptocurrency?
So actually, it's not as hard as you may think. Some people that are really fluent in computers, it takes them about 15 minutes.
That's it.
I can make you a cryptocurrency, probably in this segment if you really want me to, if you want to really work the computer out. But
let's do that for a J Street Pup. Let's get some money flowing through here for
I
once.
was saying JC Pub Coin.
Yeah, JSP coin.
Yeah, JSP or JSC. But
Actually, the gentleman that owns the ATM in JSP,
Yeah.
he started his ATM business because he got into Bitcoin very, very early.
He has the
He held
ATMs.
on to it. He didn't sell it at $90 a piece like you did.
I wish I sold it even at 90.
90, yeah, he sold it
At $5. Yeah, at $5. I actually met him at the Shaker and Vine one day, and this kid was wearing like a beat up raggedy white T-shirt, a pair of gym shorts that looked like it was from 1989, and had a Samsung Galaxy S4.
Yeah.
And he pulled out his phone, and I was like,
Millionaire.
"How are your ATMs doing?" He has about 50 of them. He goes, "Well, I've made about $34,000 today on my Bitcoin ATMs."
That's crypto rich, baby.
That's wild. Isn't it wild?
It was insane. And he's like, "Yeah, I hired my mom now. She lives in New Jersey and like collects from the ATMs for me and drives like a Volkswagen." And I'm like, "This is fascinating."
Well, I used to accept wine for Bitcoin, and there was this little Bitcoin community that was around the capital region, and this was way back. We still had our tasting room was still open, so that's back in 2012. And this dude was buying wine, and I remember a bottle of New Array, let's say, went for 0.08 Bitcoin. In today's numbers, that's almost $2,000. So I'm selling bottles of wine for $2,000 a pop.
Man.
What's really unfortunate though, the account that I had that was accruing that money, Bitcoin was up and down, it was very volatile. So I didn't really keep track at points, and I ended up losing. Back then, you had to have a special 23-character key. So it wasn't like you put in your email address and a password that you could remember. It's something that you will never remember. But you have to store it in a safe place. It's not like that anymore. You can go have a Coinbase account and it's email and password.
Yeah.
But back then it wasn't like that. It was kind of like the Wild West. There's no regulation on it. People could steal it. And I lost all the information on that. So all the money I made off selling my wine for the cryptocurrency,
Gone.
It's gone.
There
So,
was a
it's
story of this guy I was reading on, and basically he had gotten into Bitcoin early in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like you. And he used his laptop and everything to mine it, and that 23 character thing was on that computer. That's where he had it saved.
And that went to the landfill.
It went to a landfill.
Terrible.
I remember this.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And so the amount that he said was on there was worth over $300 million. And he was offering half of it. If someone could find a laptop, he would log into it and they could split the money.
Literally unbelievable.
He paid for I think a month to have that landfill closed down.
Yeah.
Excavators come in and was digging
No, I
for
would.
it.
And buy the
Trust me, I
landfill.
And I don't remember why it got thrown out. It was thrown out by accident, or I believe.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes that happens.
Justin, just if you had held on to those, it would be worth $8,050,000 right now.
I wouldn't be here. Yeah.
He would not be.
Hey,
He would not be on this podcast.
I'm hearing Joe Rogan talking about it.
Here it is. Man accidentally threw away $127 million in Bitcoin,
Unbelievable.
and officials won't allow a search. A bulldozer pushes trash into piles at a landfill in San Diego, California. He kept the drive he used to collect the Bitcoin, so if they can get the Bitcoin, the drive, they can get the Bitcoin.
It's still there. Yep. That's
so
fascinating.
where
to
is
me.
this landfill anyway? So
It's in San Diego.
Do I, I was
San-
gonna say, do I got to make a quick trip or?
Miramar landfill in San Diego.
Jeez,
That's
and
wild.
there's so many sob stories because us early adopters, essentially at the time, you're just thinking it's play money. You don't
Yeah.
think twice.
Yeah,
It's like all you understand when you're growing up is the U.S. dollar is what makes you purchase things. If you want a new laptop, you buy it in cash,
Right.
Or credit card, whatever.
Yeah.
But people didn't understand that this could be a a way of transferring wealth, I guess.
And do you think it's the way of the future?
Yeah.
100%. And I, I was very, very passionate about it when I was interviewed by ABC 10, and their financial analyst went against my word. But I mean, who's laughing now? I mean, look at the price.
So when you create a new cryptocurrency, it's the same premise of the computers mining and solving problems. You're just a different.
So it's yes and no. So everyone wants to reinvent the wheel. And Bitcoin, actually, there's not much special to it. It's actually, I mean, it's the first, so it's always going to be the grandfather of cryptocurrency. So everyone's going to view it as the cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But, I had a special parameter where we had proof of stake. So proof of stake is if you hold on to the coins, almost like a accruing interest savings account. For the coins that you hold, you're accruing stuff in return. So you're getting, I think mine was set at 2%, which was just less than regular GDP inflation.
Yeah.
And it was variable. So let's say inflation that year, or let's say if it fell between 2.5 and 3.2, I could change the parameters within my coin and fork it off and actually give the people a coin that kept up with inflation. As where the US dollar can't do that. Well, they can, but it typically devalues. It never increases.
It does the opposite.
Yeah. Right, yeah. So where I can make it either way, if there was not enough in circulation to smooth out the price and make it a day-to-day tradable currency where you could actually buy goods and services, you need to have a way to put more into the circulation. Or let's say that it's not worth enough, you dial back the proof of stake, and that way you're not giving as much out to the community. But it makes the dollar, the value of what you're transferring. And that's all it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be an exchange medium, and that's all that the US dollar is. So.
Yeah, it regulates how much it can increase and decrease in value.
Correct, yeah.
And that's what that halving is, correct?
So yeah, that's how they combat it now. But the currency that I had was variable proof of stake. So I was able to go and implement it myself without the halving that happens every couple of years. So.
Yep, gotcha.
Do you think there's going to be any issue with multiple cryptocurrencies out there?
It's already
well,
happening.
They already have.
But is there any issue with it, or is?
Well, you have someone that starts one, tries to inflate it, get rich, and sell.
Yeah, there's a lot of those guys out there.
So the it's basically like a penny stock.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, Wolf of Wall
Dogecoin.
Street. Yeah,
Dogecoin.
Doge. Yeah, I think I have that.
Yeah, I have Dogecoin too. I mean, I'm not, it's Elon Musk's favorite coin. I mean, he likes it more than Bitcoin. So
really?
Why would you not listen to Elon Musk? Right?
And it's available on Robinhood too.
Yeah. And you can get on Robinhood. Yep, absolutely. And I think
it was Dogecoin at first. I'm like,
no affiliation with Dodge. Okay.
No, yeah.
Get your Dodge Dart coin.
Yeah.
Funny.
But yeah, I absolutely love it.
You're big into the music scene too. And are you involved with that at all locally, or you just do it for a hobby?
I always did it as a hobby. Me and my buddies would always like to play instruments, and it was never anything serious. We played our 8th grade school talent show, and that was about it. And my stardom, I guess you could say, in that realm, it wasn't very extravagant.
Still talking about it, huh?
Oh yeah, can't get over it. We were supposed to play Enter Sandman, and that never happened.
Really?
I mean, it was going to be badass. I'm not even gonna lie.
Well, what, 8th grade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably would have sounded terrible. So anyway, so that's the only time that I've ever played in front of someone. Actually, I did play in front of a high school graduation.
You're full of shit. You're telling me that you never played that guitar for a girl?
No, that.
Oh, come on.
Come on, that's what I used to do.
Well, but see, if I did that, they would instantly not even look at me. Is the problem, because I'm just not good at it. So I mean, yeah, sure, I could play up and down, but people usually tell me to shut up.
I played Friends in Low Places at JSP one night on the guitar.
You did. Yes, you did.
Jeez, well, so then why don't we get a duet going?
I don't play the guitar.
No, he definitely does not.
That was a wild
you know
night.
something.
It was definitely worth paying to see, though.
See, that's the thing. Maybe that's the new thing. Maybe that's the calling. People want to see us just mess up all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Makes me feel better about myself.
Exactly. There you go. How to make money during COVID. Let people laugh at you. Proven.
I told Terry from Backstage, he was on the first episode, I said, dude, you need to do delivery and dance to people. People would crack up laughing, and everyone would love it every time you dropped off a delivery. So,
I read that, or I didn't read that. I'm sorry. I watched that, and it was so funny. I'm like, you know what? I'm thinking, because I go to Backstage all the time.
Yeah,
what a great restaurant.
Yeah.
And bar. And I love Terry. He's doing the right thing over there. And I could just imagine that. You see this big ass dude.
Just burly dude.
Yeah, just burly
Here's your
dude.
BSP burger.
Yeah. Let me show you a little break dance real quick.
He is smooth. He
is.
His video.
Have you ever seen his videos?
Yeah, he's really
good.
smooth. He's really
good.
smooth.
Makes my knees hurt looking at it. Like arthritis kicks in when he pops his knees around.
I mean, geez, I have trouble getting out of a chair. I mean, my back hurts so bad. But
I can barely get up in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm not old enough to be doing this, and I am.
I always thought it was crazy when my parents would always say,
You wait.
Yeah, you wait. Well, guess what? I waited, and it's not what I thought it was when I was younger. So,
Now, Justin, if there's anyone in the real estate industry listening to us right now, where are you looking to move the vineyard to potentially?
That's an awesome question.
yeah, it actually really is. Because if there are real estate agents that are looking at this video, please help me out. But the market is pretty tough right now, and everything that comes on the market is usually gone within days.
It's so hot right now.
It is so hot right now.
I mean, it's finally
Yeah,
capping, but
I mean, and as everyone knows, supply and demand. When the supply is low, demand is high, prices go up, yada yada yada.
rates are so great right now.
And rates are really great right now, and I have a hard time justifying a lot of the time spending more for a property I know the value's not there.
Yeah.
So we're being very picky, but at the same in the same respect, we also want to pick the right location because as we had said, as I had said in the past, we've been screwed over per se. So we want to make sure that the location fits what we want to do.
What makes a perfect location?
The community needs to like farming because we are a farm business, and
Is that for tax reasons or?
that is not for tax reasons. It's funny because my grandparents, when they came over the boat from Italy, they were farmers, and I was always sneaking into my grandparents' garden when I was a little kid. And I would eat their tomatoes. Oh my God, they were pissed. And more so my grandfather. My grandmother actually thought it was pretty comical. And then I would get chased by my grandfather, and it was a nice cat and mouse game. But at the end of the day, I think I really enjoy farming, which also brought me into my hemp and wanting to grow hemp. Because New York was starting their pilot program at the time, and I just love growing things, and I think I'm good at it. And I love growing grapes, and I like trellising. I like, doing all those kind of things, and I just really fell in love with the farming aspect of it. So that tax reasons are not it, because we could make better wines. Not to say our wines are bad. I think I may have said that really bad. But we could make more variety of wines that people are more used to, but we don't.
How many varieties do you have?
We have about seven or
Okay.
eight. Yeah. Certain varieties are starting to finish out, but the wine industry is tough. You have to plan a year ahead. So if you didn't make a wine a year in advance, now you're out a year.
So you really got to plan exactly what your releases are going to be a year in advance.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That's wild.
Yep. So, and you don't know what the market's going to do within a year. I mean, and take COVID as the biggest
I'll say,
example.
yeah.
And I'm sure for you, it's like you wouldn't have started a bar if you knew COVID was happening. I mean, come on. I mean, and for us, we didn't know COVID was going to happen, so now we're delayed on wine for a year. Luckily, we have a ton of our sangria, which is great, and it's a very good selling product for us. And I'm very happy about it. Thank you. And that we have plenty of, and that seems to be the hottest seller right now. So we're happy to have that around.
The sangria, it's delicious.
Yeah.
I remember you dropped the sixth aloft was gone at night.
Yeah, which I'm very happy to hear. There's it does very well at breweries actually, which I've been starting to notice.
It gives a different option.
Yeah.
Different option.
Yeah,
Sangria and seltzer water. You put a little splash of seltzer in it. Oh, Marone.
Did I hear you say Marone by the way?
Oh, Marone.
Did I hear a little Italian come on?
Yep. My dad lived in Vicenza and Aviano for about 8 years. So.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yep. Military family.
I spoke half and half when I was in kindergarten. They, thought I wasn't smart.
So me growing up in Plattsburgh, they were like, "Oh, you can take French or Spanish," and we're like, "Oh, we're next to Montreal, we'll take French."
Makes sense.
Only they taught us like French in Europe.
Oh,
they
yeah.
teach us
Yeah,
like
not Canadian
French
French.
Canadian.
Yeah.
Right.
And they speak with like a major twang and accent. And I went up there like my senior year, like French 5, we only spoke French. And they're like, all right, we're going to go up to Montreal for a road trip and like hang out. And you can only speak French the entire time.
Yeah.
And they're talking and I'm looking at my teacher and I'm like, you did a terrible job because I had no idea what they're saying, bro.
Is it a twang, or do they just say, we, yeah?
They add like little dialect, like words that are only in the Quebecois, like in their sentences.
And trust me, they don't like us Americans.
No, at least not during this administration.
We really don't touch them fancy, to be honest.
Actually, though, I did, a guy did come into the bar one night. He was from Canada. He was here on work. Mm-hmm. And I would say this was about a year and a half, 2 years into Trump's presidency. And he was like, your president is wild, to say the least. I'm going to keep this, good enough. He's wild. But he goes, boy, did we get shafted on the North American trade deal. I was like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, we all hate you guys, but hey, that guy, he got the upper hand on us. And I'm like, wow, look at that. Hey.
And hey, I don't want to talk politically, but that's that's me, by myself saying, nice. Is that even way too much?
So,
So this property, what do you need?
What do I need? I need land. Yeah. I need it to be fertile land.
How much land?
Arable land. We would like to be between 5 and 10 acres. We're not trying to be the biggest winery in the world. We're not trying to break barriers in that realm. And like I said, for us, it's just a passion. Mm-hmm. And that's what we care about. And if we can keep doing what we've done every year, I've made wine my entire life, and it's been with my father, and it's been with my brothers. If I can continue to do that, that would mean the world to me. And if I can sustain it without having another job, that would be all the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where we're at. So 5-10 acres would be ideal for us. We could live off the land. So that's another thing where we have a little bit of issue with. Land is hard to come by in the capital region. Mm-hmm. It really is, because everyone's trying to all the old farms that are in this area are trying to turn it into housing, because that's where the money's at. And I totally understand that. Come on.
Yeah.
But if I had the opportunity, I'd like it to be in this area, and I don't think I'll settle unless it's in this area, because I don't want to move out to the farmland.
Yeah.
I can see you in like Charlton area.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, and that's not a bad area.
You would choose. You take land in Charlton.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah.
Right. It's close enough. I can still represent my brand in Schenectady, Saratoga, Troy, Albany.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all close.
Yeah, you're away from Altamont Vineyards. You're away from Saratoga wine. You're right smack in the middle. It's a good spot for you, I feel like.
And we've always thought Boston spot. So you're not too far off. That's been high on our radar to get on that. Yeah, in that area. So.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to be like a destination vineyard where people can come on premise and hang out, or do you want to be like a contract vineyard where you just do your job and send it out?
I want people to come check us out and have a wine tasting. I want to be very personable. I want people to ask me questions about wine, which is why I was so excited to be on this podcast. Like, I feel like ever since the lounge, I don't get asked these questions anymore. I feel like I'm missing something. And I really want to have a tasting room back, and I want to go back to that. So so that was also one of the reasons why we left downtown Schenectady, because we had that opportunity to talk about our wine, but people aren't seeing the process. Mm-hmm. We want to bring people into the wine cellar. We want to show people what we're doing. We want to be very transparent. Yeah. And because when people have those questions, is your wine natural? It's as natural as it's going to be, Mm-hmm. So we want to portray that to our customers, and we don't want to, hide anything. So we really pride ourselves on making wine the old-fashioned way and doing what our family has done for generations. And we want to, give our fruits of our labor in that regard, to our customers.
Do you know if your grandparents and their family members before them were making wine in Italy?
Yeah, so I'm told that my father has an aunt in Italy that grew a lot of Moscato grapes. I don't know if she was making wine from them or if she was just selling them as grapes. It's a little... it's lost in translation kind of thing, I guess. But I don't know much about it, but that's as far as I know, is that we did have a vineyard in Italy that was 30 hectares. which, I mean, if you convert hectares to
Yeah,
acres.
it was hectaacres.
Yeah, and I forget how many acres are in a hectare. I mean, if you want, it looks like you're looking it up.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
What is it? 30?
Yeah, 30 hectares. People are waiting.
Yeah, I know. Well, you guys keep talking. I'm looking shit up.
No, that's good. So when you look at like collaborations in the brewing industry, do vineyards do that? Like, I don't hear about vineyards that collab. Like, obviously, I'm friends with the crew at Fiden's Brewing. They say a collab recently with
Good brewery,
the
by the
Royal
way.
Meadery. So they did a meadery and they did a honey beer.
Okay.
Do you guys ever do any kind of cross collabs like that?
You know, we did, and it's really hard to mix wine with beer sometimes, but we did do a collaboration with Great Flats Brewing, which I absolutely love Great Flats. I think the owners are amazing. I love their vibe. I love everything that they're doing. And they're right here in Schenectady, and it's one of my go-tos when I come down here. And we did a Saison, it was a Saison ale, which I don't know why you'd make it a Saison. Well, anyway, it was made with our wine lees, and it was actually very unique. I mean, I'm not going to say it's something that's like a go-to to me, and I'm going to be very straight honest with, you know, the products that I make. It wasn't something that I would have all the time, but as a one-off where you're having it and you're sipping, you're like, wow, this is so interesting. Like, there's so many flavors going on. And I taste so beer and other industries collabing, so I feel like that the wine industry and the beer industry could collab even more. I just feel like it's taboo at the time right now to do something like that. But we ended up collabing with them because they were open to the idea. They were new at the time, and I thought it came out pretty well. And hey, it sold, so I guess it was good, right?
Nice.
It was good enough.
Now, aside from collabing with like another beverage manufacturer like Malcolm's, they're obviously an amazing farm-to-table restaurant.
Yep.
Would you ever do like a wine and chef pairing with like someone at Malcolm's or another restaurant like that? Have you ever done something like that, or would you be up to it?
Yeah, and I would definitely be up to that. And we actually did something like that at Backstage Pub, believe it or not.
That's right, yeah.
Nice.
We did, and people really enjoyed it. We made a special 4-course meal for people, and I picked 4 different wines to pair with those meals. And I would love to do something with, you know, Malcolm's, because I think that's the next step for me is, you know, we tried it out at a place like Backstage Pub that does make good food, and they know what they're doing. But to have another farm-to-table place to do it with, I think we could really make something cool and a good experience for a lot of people.
Yeah, that would
For sure.
It fits totally with that farm to table model.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
He's doing a new model over there, the back door of Malcolm's, where it's like a to-go model.
Oh, yeah?
So I think it'd be cool to like pair up your like sangria or something with their dishes. So if you got like, you do a bottle of white with your fish dishes or a bottle of red with their steak dishes.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something that you should definitely reach out to them. That's just my personal opinion. But
Yeah, and
Take
like
it
I
or
said,
leave it.
we've been in the process of moving, so we've been very busy, and
Nice.
it's hard, you know, and we're a family business, you know, we don't have an onslaught of employees to get stuff done. So when stuff needs to get done, it you know, it's on our shoulders, it's on our backs. So we're a little
Nice.
slow to get to things sometimes, but once the move is done, we'll be right back on the horse, and
Nice.
that's something especially that we want to do. Absolutely.
So are you trying to, is there a better time to move the vines? Like, are you, let's say you find a property that you like.
74 acres, by the way.
74 acres.
That's
I mean,
what it was.
Wow.
damn.
The old family vineyard, 74
Yeah.
acres. Yeah.
Wow. So it's
It's a
amazing.
chunk of land.
That, I mean, I hear the word 30 and 74 just seems astronomical. What a difference. Metric
So
system, huh?
let's say you get a plot of land that you're comfortable with and you're going to make the move. I'm assuming you can't just like dig up your vines and just move them right away.
No. Man, I choked on my beer. Yeah. Tough to have any vines.
Such
Oh my
a dumb
God.
question.
No, not a dumb question. Not a dumb question.
Merc, we just talked about him bringing beer over or wine over to Malcolm's. Like, come on, dude, that's hard.
Now you want me to change some grapevines over. You know, to a root system on a grapevine is almost like a tree's. I mean, you know, because they come up every year. It's not something that you have to plant every year. So their root system is very developed, and I think it's more worth it to us to take the clippings off of those vines and then reroot new plants as opposed to taking the ones that were already grown. Yeah.
So whoever buys
So you'd
that
have to have a
property-
supply technically of like 3 to 5 years, like you said, for your crop.
Correct. Yep.
to make a smooth transition where you didn't have a loss in revenue coming in.
Correct. Yep.
How many acres? How many bottles of wine can you make with 1 acre?
So it's very dependent on the grape variety that you're growing. There's some varieties like vinifera varieties, your typical Cab, Sauvs, and Chardonnays.
Let's talk about Concord.
You want to talk about Concord? All right. Concord will yield a lot per acre, and that's why it's so cheap, and that's why they make juice out of it as opposed to wine. You can make wine out of Concord. I'm not going to say it's going to be good wine, but I mean, it is wine. And so you can make... So the actual breakdown is 160 or 150 to 165 gallons per ton of grapes. You get about anywhere from, depending on the variety, 2 to almost 10 tons per acre. So there's a very big variance there.
You can get 2 to 10 tons of wine.
Of grapes per acre.
Okay, and that comes down to how many bottles?
So for starting conversions, you have to take the 165 gallons, or 160, we'll average at a 160 gallons per ton, and then you take the ton, so let's say it's 5 tons per that acre.
So 10,000 pounds.
Yeah. And then you're going to take that and you do 165 times the 5, and then you have to divide that by... I mean, I feel like,
150.
oh my God, I feel like it's algebra all over again, and I just don't get it. So, now I'm starting to... No, I can't even get it. No, but you
Mitch, we better be getting to something good here at the end of this equation, dude.
Just curious.
If you want me to do this in my head, it's not going to happen.
I wasn't flat.
I'm going to tell you how to get there, but you got to do the math
I don't
yourself.
know. I just figured, hey, 1 acre of land, it's about 1,432 bottles.
Yeah, well, I don't have an answer like that. There's too many variables to give me to give you guys an actual answer. Put it that way.
Okay.
But I can tell you the calculations so that if it were to be 4 tons an acre or 8 tons an acre, depending on the grape variety, you can do the math and figure it out.
Okay.
We just want to get it down to profit per grape. It's not that hard.
You can do that, right?
I do got to say, it is harder than you think because there's just a lot. I can't stress enough how many variables there are. There's a wine that we make that could be like the Cap Franc in the past. It's going to yield way less profit margin than, let's say, a hybrid.
Okay.
Like our new array.
This past season, there was a pretty long dry period.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Is that sarcasm?
No, that's actually awesome.
It's perfect.
Really?
It's perfect grape.
Perfect, yeah.
Why is that?
You want it dry towards the end of the year. It causes, so the grape creates acid. When there's too much water, it likes to create bacteria and mold.
Okay.
When stuff think about it like a house, And when you have a very dry season towards the end of the year when the grapes are maturing, it allows the grapes to drop the acid level and create more sugar.
Okay. So that's good for the year that happens.
Yes.
Is there any carryover side effects that may affect them next season with that?
The grapes or the wine?
The vine itself, I would say.
Nope.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So you really want a very dry end of the year. That would be perfect for winemaking. Yeah.
Wow.
And and people don't think that. A lot of
Yeah,
people
it's
think
it goes against the grain of most
Yeah.
plant health care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So and that's why when I say that, people kind of look at me like, "What the hell are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense."
Yeah. That's why I was like, sarcasm?
Right. Exactly.
Like you want it to grow.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, Justin, one of the big things obviously right now in society is automation. How do you see automation impacting like vineyards in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, where does that come into play in terms of your revenue, your operating costs? Like, are you starting to implement things that your grandparents would have never thought about, obviously, as technology comes into play?
I'm starting to think you think that I'm a little smarter than I am. That kind of stuff. I guess I don't really understand the question. Like, I know what you're saying.
Like using drones for
exactly.
spraying or
so. Like I get that.
Or
and
like
using,
or sensors in terms of like your water levels, your chloroform, whatever it may be that's coming in.
Yeah, and I think that in the wine industry, less water is good because the roots in grapes run so deep that it's able to grab that water that's underneath there that we don't typically see.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think the wine industry is a little bit different. As where
Okay.
to automate it, I guess you don't really have to put it on it's you only need a lot of water when they're trying to grow within those first 5 years.
Okay.
So once you're past those 5 years, you let the grapes just do their thing, and nature really takes over from there. It really does.
Okay.
You can train
So
it.
your industry is kind of away from that. Like, it's very much a grassroots. It's going to be the way that you've been doing it historically. You don't see it changing much with
I don't see
technology coming into play.
I don't see it changing much, but like I said, I mean, with technology, especially in farming, there's new things like harvesting techniques and harvesters and stuff like that, and irrigation systems that will make young plants grow much better. So I think in those stages, it does play a big part. But once it gets to the point where grapes need to, where they're actually being produced, there's really not much, I think, that would change, to be honest.
Got it.
Yeah.
Can you greenhouse your grape growing so that you can do it year round?
You could, I just don't think it's cost effective.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where you can do it, it's just not cost effective. As where hemp, I could easily cost effective make it where it's in a greenhouse, and that's all that we grow is greenhouse grown. But
your hemp.
the hemp, but the grapes, the money's not there to greenhouse grapes because the margins are just not there.
So tell
Take
us.
us through the KickFly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm. This is what I've been waiting to get to. KickFly.
Yeah, it's been a very taboo industry since its inception.
These are what you brought right here,
Yes. Yep. Yep. I brought those.
and it's CBD. It's hemp. It's just.
It is CBD.
Explain it to the listeners because they can't really
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, are we allowed to smoke them?
We can if we. I mean, are we trying to light up right now?
Yeah, sure.
Or
Let's do it. Yeah. Talk to me about it. I'll do one, and you can do one.
Or that, or if you want to pass it around. I mean,
It's COVID still. It's still COVID.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I just don't even think about it, to be honest. Sorry. And the day that I can figure out these child locks, that would be fantastic.
So what do we got going on over here, folks? Like, we got something happening at JSP. Explain it to us.
We got KickFly Premium
You're
Hemp
missing out.
Pre-roll. This one's called Little
I'm
Giant.
A-okay. I'll stick to my liquid gold over here, my beers.
When did you start this company?
Cannabinoid?
Cannabinoids?
Cannabinoids?
There we go. Child safety can be a bitch
How
sometimes.
the hell did you even do that?
I'm telling you,
just
child
yank
safety
it.
can be a bitch sometimes.
Put some elbow grease into that thing.
It's it's one of those squeeze cash. You really got to get in there and
Yeah.
squeeze it. And
Mitch, it's like your
pull or
Flintstone
push
show. You
down.
You gotta jimmy it. You gotta jimmy it.
You want me to do it?
No, I got
Give me my
it.
Flintstone vitamins.
I think I got it.
You don't got it.
I don't got
You
it.
send it over if you'd like.
I got it.
There we go.
There it is.
So
I'm gonna give him a gold star.
But it smells like weed.
yeah, I mean it's big misconception with hemp is it is marijuana, and it's not. It's the same plant. It comes from the cannabis species, but they're genetically. I don't want to say genetically modified because they're not genetically modified, but people are crossbreeding, and we're part of the New York State Hemp Grower Association. And what we do is we crossbreed certain varieties to create new strains that have different terpene profiles, different cannabinoid profiles, and that's very important to hemp. Because we're trying to solve people's issues. Whether it be like back pain or anxiety or stress, and CBD is really good if taken regularly, is very good for the body. Very good for the body.
And this is CBD.
This is CBD, so you're unfortunately not going to get high,
No, yeah, no.
but you will feel very relieved. I will tell you that. So
For our listeners, this is about as close to Joe Rogan's podcast as you're going to get without being on Joe Rogan's podcast.
There's
also, before I do this, would you like to have this? Because I have plenty.
No, I'm all set. I appreciate the offer. Though. There's a little tab on the
I
back
was going to
there.
say, how do you work
So
this
underneath the that button your thumb is on, underneath it.
Want me to do it?
thing? Oh,
Yep.
Pull it down. Push it down.
you got to push it down.
Yep, it'll lock, and now you can do a half press and a full press.
Mitch, you're not going to sell off your sprinkler system, are you, at JSP?
Looks like we're all going to find out.
Oh, man.
That I did not think
I
about.
am so glad I'm virtual.
So there's one right there. Okay, so what is the difference between CBD, CBG?
Okay. So different cannabinoids give you different effects. CBD is the big one that everyone knows and people gravitate towards. It's kind of like the buzzword. CBG is very good for cognitive thinking, being more alert and more awake during situations, where CBD can give you more sedative effect. And terpenes, what people really overlook most of the time is that the terpenes actually give you more of an effect than the actual CBD does, which is why we're focusing a lot. Our brand personally is focusing on how we can up terpene production. And terpenes can be smells, and they're categorized into different categories, per se. And but they all serve a different purpose. Well, like if you want myrcene, which is very prominent in hemp or marijuana, cannabis, it's going to be very sedative and very relaxing, which is why when people smoke CBD or THC, they're very relaxed because they have a high content of myrcene, which people don't put into perspective that terpenes play a big part in how you're intaking your cannabis.
Okay.
So we're part of the New York State Hemp Pilot Program, and I was so excited to be granted a license to grow, and now it's being turned to the USDA as opposed to our agricultural markets division here in New York State.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean now we're changing over to a more federal regulated as opposed to state regulated for cannabis right now, which is totally fine because we took the steps of being very legitimate and just like the wine, being very transparent in what we do. Everything that we grew was greenhouse grown, and we do our third-party testing. We get tested by the state. Everything is very closely monitored. Everything that we cross-produce has to be documented. And we put in a research report at the end of every year explaining what we did that year and how we came to the results that we got, whether it's growing someone else's strain or creating your own strain, mixing different terpenes, what effects you feel. All that plays into a part of what that research has to be at the end of the year that we submit to the state. So I think the state's doing their part in actually caring about what we're putting into our bodies.
Yep, yeah.
So it's really good for us to work with them in that regard, because if we don't, people could go to a gas station and buy some person's backyard grown stuff, and it could, cause some complications, and that's not what we want as an industry. We want to be very legitimate. And Colorado and California lead the industry, but what's to say New York can't be far behind?
Yeah.
They've been in longer, but we have an opportunity to, be in that forefront. So I was very happy to be part of the program and learn more about hemp more than I ever thought I would, and understanding the difference, because most people don't understand the difference between hemp and marijuana. People think it's going to get you high, it's going to be bad for you, it's a drug, but all we're trying to do is combat the opioid crisis. If we could combat the opioid crisis, it saves a lot of lives per year. And there's a lot of ailments that maybe you don't need a prescription drug. Maybe you just need a little bit of CBD where it doesn't get you high, and you're just, you're better off that way, anti-inflammation, all that kind of stuff. So we're very excited to be part of the hemp movement here in New York.
So how do you even start that? You're gonna probably want to light it again. You were talking for like 2 minutes.
I know, seriously. Now you guys have me talking.
So how do you?
Now,
sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just have a question. Like, under your business umbrella right now, you have the Vineyard and you have the CBD. There's a lot of like CBD infused sodas and infused alcohol. Do you see a CBD infused like sangria coming out of your product portfolio down the road?
I get asked this all the time. I really do. And I don't want to mix the two. I mean, I feel like I'm in two very taboo industries. I mean, cryptocurrency. I really, I'm walking that. I'm flirting with the line, and I don't want to go to the other side,
Yeah.
So we try to do things as very meticulous, and I don't think that the industry is there yet to really make a judgment call on mixing the two. Even though CBD, and it's not, because I know in Canada you can buy THC beer, and it's proven to be just fine. But to do that here in New York, I mean, that's a different ballgame.
It's now one of the big things. Like, my big hobby is golf, and CBD is taking over the golf world like crazy right now. It's the cognitive abilities, being able to like get laser focused and everything. Have you looked at any kind of partnerships with golf courses or getting your product into like pro shops and whatnot?
I have not, and I'm very glad you said that because it's something that I never even thought of myself. So thank you for telling me that the golfers are into CBD. And I know a golfer, so I probably should know, but one that's almost professional. And I had never really thought about it, but it does work wonders on the body, and it really relaxes your body. It is a very magical plant, and it will give you the benefits that you need if taken the right way, and if it's constantly being taken. Obviously you don't want to be smoking it all the time. This is more of like a recreational kind of way to intake CBD, but an oil regimen, or they sell it in pills, gummy bears, chocolate bars.
Do you do other forms?
Yeah. I really do like the tinctures. I think it's very concentrated and it gives you the effect that you need. We take very good pride in the way that we formulate our oils. We actually made an oil tincture that was mixed with hops oil. Partially because I'm involved with this craft industry.
Yeah.
And second, because it's a natural way to get terpenes without deriving it and being overly processed. So we use hemp or hops to introduce the terpenes. Back into the oil.
How long did it take to get the license to do the hemp?
I want to say only about a month.
Really?
That's it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot faster than a brewery. Wow.
It's a lot faster than a liquor license. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's faster than the winery too. So I'm happy about that. But the reason being is because they are very quick to deny you if you don't meet their parameters. You need to have history of growing, history of farming, history of dealing with, for me it helped out being in the wine industry because I'm dealing with the SLA. The government knows that the SLA is a bitch to deal with, as you may know with Fightin's Brewing and owning JC Pub. And
They've been great to work with.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've done them great things. So.
And honestly, to be honest, I really have not struggled with the SLA. I really haven't. They actually, I said it more as a joke, but I will agree with you. They're really not out to get you, per se.
My dad always told me, if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about.
Right. And have you ever done anything wrong other than open a bar? No.
Yeah, open the bar was that was the only thing I've done wrong.
Come on, all right. I said it, and
Now, all right, that's amazing. Nice catch. Now, pivoting when cannabis becomes legalized at the state level or at the federal level, are you able to quickly pivot to that kind of production and manufacturing, or what's that process look like?
No, I would not be able to quickly go into that process because CBD and hemp is beneficial to the human body, but THC unfortunately gives you that high effect, and it's on the spectrum of marijuana. So, and also us as a company, we don't even want to be involved with that. You know what I mean?
Well, KickFly.
KickFlies, right? Yeah. KickFlies, because we're more in it for the health value of CBD as opposed to the craze of cannabis.
Okay,
if that makes sense. And it's been, by a lot of big analysts out there, big bank analysts and all that, they shoot more towards hemp being a bigger industry than the actual marijuana industry, because not everyone wants to be high all the time. I mean, geez, if I had to get these positive side effects and be high all the time, I'm gonna maybe opt out because I don't want to be high all the time. So it's so that's why people go to hemp, because they can get that benefit,
that relaxation
and the anti-inflammation and the pain relief. And it's almost like taking an Advil, except there's no side effects. You take too much acetaminophen or ibuprofen, you're either going to the hospital or you could croak. You can OD.
It causes ulcers and bleeding internally.
Right.
Liver damage.
Liver damage is a huge one, and people are gravitating towards CBD because it's an alternative that is just better for the body in general. And New York State unfortunately wants to ban smokable hemp flower coming January 1st, and I've spoken very publicly to the board about not making that go through, because it's something where sometimes to get instant relief you need to intake it via smoking it.
But why do they want to get rid of this?
because it falls along the lines of anything that you have to combust to consume is typically bad for you. I mean, obviously, ingesting smoke is not the best thing for you, regardless of what it is. And they're trying to eradicate that. But then where's the pressure on the tobacco companies? It's not there.
Right.
And maybe it's a tax reason. I don't know. I mean, that's something the government can answer for all of us. But then again, why don't you just tax hemp just like you tax tobacco companies? Because one's helping a person and one's you know, detrimenting their health.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very interesting to see where that's gonna all lie. And like I said, it's not concrete yet, and I hope it's not, because our pre-rolls do very well, and it would be a big hit to our company.
Where do you sell these?
So we're in a couple of places: Smokers Paradise, Upstate CBD,
Okay.
Beer Universe. Actually, there's a couple of places in Cape Cod that we've implemented our CBD, and we're growing. I mean, we're young, and like
Pun
I said,
intended.
yeah, right. Exactly. And so, you know, it takes a long time for me to get around to, like I said, when I take a product out to the market, it's not going to be a half-assed product. So for me to get a product out to market, it's got to be buttoned up to the T and has to be, you know, accepted by third-party testing, government testing, and all that. You know, we're never going to put something out that could ever put harm in anyone's way. And that's like wine too. You know, there's people that complained about arsenic in California wines a while back.
Really?
Yeah, and absolutely not. I mean, we're not here to cheat, and we still use old equipment, and we're going to be as transparent as possible. And I think that's what people lack these days in these large companies, which makes them stray to the farm-to-market aspect. And we're not trying to play into it because that's what we've always done, but I will say it's a benefit for us that people are straying more that path.
Is there a story behind the name KickFly?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Why did you make KickFly?
My because KickFly is grammatically incorrect, especially the way it's spelled, which actually plays into the funny part of it. Actually, believe it or not, KickFlies was a company between me and friends of mine, and we were doing sunglasses, and they were supposed to be eco-recycled sunglasses, and we had this huge social and environmental movement behind it. And we were really into it, and we did a lot of 3D printed sunglasses out of recycled 3D printer filament.
Okay.
And we teamed up with,
So what, they just would chop up the 3D printed stuff and then melt it back down into a new filament?
No, we were actually reaching out to companies that were making it out of old yogurt containers, and old water bottles and
that's very
stuff
cool.
like that. And we wanted to make a social impact and environmental impact, and we wanted to show the numbers like, hey, if you buy our pair of sunglasses, it's like 2 or 3 bottles out of the ocean or something like that, right? And everything was going great. And the reason why KickFlies was the name is because I'm in my buddy's car, and sometimes I struggle with saying the right thing.
Story of my life.
Jeez, tell me about it.
Let me introduce you to my friend Mitch.
Yeah. You know. Jeez, and guess what? We have that in common. And I kept saying I couldn't get the word out. Sunglasses. I ended up saying KickFlies, and he was like, "Dude, you're really talking about these sunglasses right here? Like, you can't formulate sunglasses in your brain." Yeah. And I'm just like, you know what? Right now, I really can't. We're coming from the gym too. It's not like we're doing anything taboo.
Are you smoking one of these?
I was not. This was a long time ago. And so then we were like, you know what? Let's make our own sunglass brand, but let's change the game a little bit. Let's be environmentally sound. And we never lost those values, even with going with hemp. The reason why we went into hemp was because it is carbon neutral, and it actually takes out more carbon out of the air than trees do. And so it fit in with our actual overall goal of what we wanted KickFlies to be. And now just, you know, it's come into a whole CBD brand and hemp brand, and that's what we're sticking with. And sunglasses kind of took the wayside.
But that's a crazy verbal whiff from sunglasses to KickFlies.
Yeah. I have no explanation for it.
So you just have this greenhouse full of a bunch of these marijuana-looking like plants.
Yeah, I mean, I've got pictures and stuff like that. I mean,
it's on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, it's on Instagram, so you can see all of our stuff. KickFlies Official, I think, is our Instagram, and kickflies.com. You can read all about us there. So we kind of just spiraled into the CBD, and it helps people. So,
well, yeah, I mean,
we're very happy about that.
Now, if someone,
how you feeling, Mitch? You're about halfway through that.
I'm quite relaxed.
It actually does work. And, I don't know, people want to say it's placebo sometimes, but I will say, I mean, I get quite the effect off of CBD. And we
do you think it's because of the just inhaling of smoke and you just kind of get that lightheadedness feel, or do you think the CBD really is just...
Well, you're going to notice it's going to be longer lasting. So beyond this podcast, or maybe later in this podcast, I don't know how much longer we have, but you're going to start feeling really relaxed. You're going to feel more heaviness in your face.
That's where I'm at right now. Yeah,
exactly. And that's where I'm feeling like those couple of hits, it put a relaxedness in my face.
Yeah.
So you'll notice it does help. I mean, it is.
Now, do you smoke one of these before you go to sleep?
No, I don't smoke all the time. So if I have an opportunity to take like a tincture, I'll take a tincture.
A what? Sorry.
Like a tincture.
Yeah, can we explain what a tincture is? Yeah.
So it's an oil you put under your tongue, and the longer you
Okay,
keep it under your tongue is better, because your glands in your mouth are able to intake it more than if you were just to just swallow it whole, kind of like a gummy. That's like taking an edible. It takes like 2 hours for it to really set in, or whatever they tell you. So a tincture could be more instant if you keep it under your tongue and hold it there, because your glands are taking into your bloodstream much faster.
Huh.
So when do we tell Mitch that you gave him arugula?
Well,
I will say,
catnip,
even secondhanded, I do feel more relaxed now than I was before those got lit.
I mean, Jesus,
We're about to get a bunch of new KickFly brand verbal vomits coming out of JSP shortly.
Now, why call it Little Giant?
Little Giant is a strain that we use. It's a farm down in North Carolina that crossbred it, and that's what the name they gave it. So that's why we call it that, because we're calling everything by the name varietal of what it is. We have one cross variety that we crossed. It's called Frosty Flamingo, and I really do like it. It has a really nice terpene profile, and we're toying around with it. It's actually an autoflower that gets 7 feet tall, which I have never seen in the industry. We've talked to some peers of ours that are also growers, and that's pretty astronomical to have a plant that's 7 feet tall as an autoflower. An autoflower is, you don't have to wait the entire grow cycle of the year. It goes off of time, so you can get 3 grows in a year as opposed to 1.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And this again is it. So what's in that is just the flower bud.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
We use straight flower, no trim.
So when you are harvesting, after harvest do you cut back the plant at all, or just let it go? And if you do, for how long? A couple of years, or?
Yeah. So unlike grapes, hemp, you need to plant from seed every year.
Every year.
It's not a grapevine where it stays in the ground and it goes dormant and then it comes back to life, or awake, essentially. But you have to plant seeds every year, or you can graft. I know how to graft too. But at the end of the day, it's not a returning plant. Okay. So it is a weed, essentially.
Yeah.
It got its right name because it is a weed. It grows just like a weed. And we do everything in separate pots. We don't use the local soil. We do use local soil, but we use soil that has been made, via worm activity or local decomposition.
Why?
Because you have a lot more nutrients that way.
The worms moving around just make the soil that much more rich.
Aerates it.
Okay.
Aerates it, and you need a lot of oxygen in the roots and able to get a good grow. And that's with any plant. I mean, that's not just weed. That's everything. You need aerated soil to grow a nice crop.
So when you're done with the plant, are you doing anything with that byproduct? Other companies using it for clothing?
So right now in the first year, now we're year 2 and we're going to be going on year 3, we want to start giving our byproduct to people that make, yarns or make shirts or.
Now, how do you make yarn and shirts out of a hemp?
They take the herd, so it's the stalk, and then they
strip it.
It's very fibrous.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, actually, it's cheaper. In actuality, it's cheaper to have hemp paper than it is to have regular paper.
And it's stronger.
It is stronger. Yeah. I mean, hemp fibers are very strong.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'm a big proponent of not only the CBD and the health realm of it, but also, products as well. So shirts. What I really love is hempcrete. Hempcrete is a product you make out of hemp, but it's concrete, and you can actually build an entire home out of hempcrete.
Really?
And it's just,
I've heard about this before.
It's cool as hell. It is really cool as hell, and it's something that we're not in the know-how to do.
Yeah.
But watching the videos of it being done is crazy. I think it's
Even with
so
your
much
construction background,
I
I figured you'd be all over that.
Is that not crazy? I mean, you know, my family's been in construction my entire life, and my dad was a phenomenal mason. And, you know, you would think that I would want to turn hemp into more of a building material as opposed to a health material because, you know, I'm used to drinking wine. I mean, but hey, wine has its health benefits too. I mean, resveratrol and all that.
Glass a day, right?
A glass a day keeps maybe not the doctor.
Maybe
away,
not
but
that,
If you
Keeps the
can
stress
build
away.
your
helps the
tasting
problems
room- if you can build your new tasting room out of hempcrete and then make a hemp infused sangria inside the tasting room, you've come full circle.
Oh, 1,000%, absolutely.
I mean, you're in
Why not?
in the business of keeping people relaxed.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's not come back on me. I'm waiting to make myself more relaxed because I feel like I've got so much going on that I can't relax. But I'm trying to get to that point, and maybe that's why I'm creating products to make me feel more relaxed. So maybe it's benefiting me and other people as well.
So anyone that's listening to this right now, if they want to support you from the CBD standpoint, I know the wine you said, CapocciaWines.com, where would they go? Should they just go to local retailers that you partner with, or is there a way to buy it directly from you?
They can go to local retailers if they want, because a lot of the people that I supply to are local businesses and they're small businesses, and I would love for them to also get a piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I'm a very big small business supporter. I've been in it ever since I graduated high school. I never really took the college route, or I did, but you know, I never actually walked away with a degree. Mm-hmm. And the community in small business, and that's the way I was grown up, because my father always had his business, and I know how important it is to support these local businesses. So I will say that going out and maybe buying it from Upstate CBD is going to be more worth it to me, I guess, because I'm also supporting someone else other than just myself. So yeah, absolutely check out Upstate CBD. Check out some of the other retailers that we're in. We post everything on our social media, our Instagram, our Facebook, this and the other thing. But we also do have a website as well. It's called www.kickflies.com.
Mm-hmm. Can I buy it online?
You can buy it online. Yep.
Can you ship it?
Yep. Mm-hmm. We are one of the few, well, probably not anymore, but we were one of the few that actually were part of Square's I forgot exactly what they called it, but it was a program where you can't buy products of this nature because it's not like the marijuana business. We get categorized in the marijuana business, so we're not categorized as federally legal, even though we are, because we're hemp. Mm-hmm. But the financial institutions don't view us as that.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Right. So they view us as we're just like a marijuana dispensary. So they
you can't take the credit card processing.
Exactly. So we were part of Square's initiation with the hemp industry for that. So we're one of the few websites where you can pay with credit card, you can get our product, and I will ship. Yes, absolutely.
That's cool. Yeah. I went to Massachusetts to pick up some stuff.
Nice.
And this guy gave me the entire kit and caboodle show. You know, we pull up. Obviously, it's COVID. We have to sit in the car. They come out to you, and he's very vivacious and was like, "Hey, you know, welcome to Lee, blah 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 blah."
Can of provisions.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And
nice.
he was like, you know, listen. He goes, we can't run a credit card. He goes, but what we can do is we have this little device right here, and this little device right here is basically a portable ATM. He goes, since you can't use credit card, you can use an ATM to purchase it. So basically, it's going to come up on your thing saying this is blah, 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 ATM. And I punch my code in. He goes, yeah, good. He goes, now the cost of it was like $243. But they can only run to the nearest, like, that $5 bill. So he goes, but we're going to run it for $245. Here is $2 and change.
In cash.
Yeah. He hands it right back to me. He already knew what it was going to be, and I was like, oh, all right, perfect. And he goes, and have a wonderful day. And what was even funnier is, this is like the first time I've really actually gone to a dispensary of that magnitude. And as I'm pulling out, they were doing construction work outside. And in Massachusetts, police officers have to sit on the outside of every construction site. So I'm pulling out with $250 worth of weed. And this police officer's looking at me with his lights flashing. He's directing traffic and goes, right this way, sir. Yeah. And then
It's very bizarre.
Yeah, and then I cross the border and there's like 4 state troopers just waiting for, New York license plates to come across.
It is very bizarre, and it's funny because it reminds me of an old story where we went and got fireworks as a family one time, and we're in Pennsylvania, and the cops are helping you load your car, and yet they know that you're only a minute over the border with New York plates, and they don't even care. They're like, hey, thanks for visiting Pennsylvania for 10 minutes. It's like, oh, man. You got someone on your CB radio or what?
Yeah, right? Like, he's coming your way.
Yeah, exactly. And luckily, it never came to that, but... I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, we're doing this right?
Yeah.
Like, you're cool, bro?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's great. Well,
Justin, I think we'll wrap it up there. We've covered everything from the vineyard to the hemp to your background. We appreciate it. Appreciate your sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for coming in, man.
Yeah, and also I want to say to all of you that this is an amazing thing. I really hope the other business owners are willing to do something like we're doing right now, because this is amazing that you actually get a chance to talk to other business owners and the public. I know if I am the public to other companies, and I love hearing what other people have to say about what's going on, what their take on COVID was, or what their take is on local government. I love what you guys are doing, and I really hope that other people will take the opportunity to sit at this round table and really talk and speak their mind, because this is awesome for the community.
Table.
Thank you, man.
Yes.
We appreciate that.
So I also want to congratulate you guys for doing this, because I know what effort this takes, and no one else has done it. So I'm glad that Mitch finally, and JP and
Merc.
I'm so glad that you guys came together to do this. So that's my final piece for you guys, and hopefully for everyone that's listening.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoy the content.
We don't
Absolutely.
all spectrums there.
Yeah.
But
well, Justin, have a safe and happy holidays,
Yeah.
and wish you the best in 2021 with all the business ventures, and hope that they continue to be prosperous for you.
Thank you, and likewise to everyone else.
All right.
and this is where we ended.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
That's Merc's call out. All right.
Oh man, that's what you guys actually sound like. You guys sound way better.